Let me drop some knowledge on you. Roughly 65% of your future attendees will be registering to your event on their mobile device. I grabbed coffee with our data science team this morning to check the numbers, and as it turns out, 65% can be considered the majority of your attendees. Pretty wild, right? So, if some people only experience your brand's registration process on their phone or tablet, you better hope your page looks as attractive on mobile devices as it does on desktop. My job is to make sure that you know how to do this, covering the best practices when optimizing for mobile, and let you know what you should be avoiding to make your pages scalable moving forward. Being able to independently curate how your page is presented from device to device is one of the superior qualities of Splash that sets us apart from the rest. Let's dive in. Once your page has been set up exactly the way that you intended on desktop, let's click into the mobile workspace to see how it looks on phone. To do this, hover your mouse along the top workspace bar and click on the mobile device icon. Welcome to the mobile workspace. Let's cover a couple things right off the bat before we dive into design. Some have larger screens than others, and some are a lot smaller. With this in mind, our developers have settled upon an average screen size to display your mobile version of your event page. But generally speaking, this is going to cover the majority of mobile devices, so you can design with confidence. The second thing to note is that every single Splash theme in the public theme library, and any that we have built for you and your team, have already been curated to look brilliant on mobile and tablet. So, if you don't make any structural changes to your page on desktop, then you really won't even need to necessarily touch this side of the CMS. However, once you do start making edits to your page, you may want to check these out on other views to ensure your experience for your attendees is how you wish it to be. Here's a big note. You ready? Edits you make to your page on desktop will pull through to mobile and tablet, but once you start making stylistic changes in the mobile or tablet workspace, you are basically unlocking the workspaces you are editing from the others. With that in mind, let's break down what you can and cannot get away with when styling for mobile in the next slide. When styling for mobile, a lot of the things you can change have to do with sizing. These include the size of text, your line height, letter spacing, the width and height of elements and blocks, the amount of margin and padding you're applying to different things, and how things are aligned. I think one of the coolest features of multi-device curation is the ability to change the background image on blocks and elements to be something completely different on mobile. So, if you have a brilliant cover block that has an exceptional background image on desktop, but on mobile a key feature gets cropped off, or the image just doesn't look great on a more vertical format, you can switch that image out with something more mobile friendly, and it won't change the one you are using on desktop. Pretty useful. Another key feature is the ability to hide elements and blocks from one device to the other. Have a particular custom navigation that only works on desktop? Feel free to hide that entire block on mobile to not overly complicate things. The types of things you can't change from device to device are probably pretty obvious. Actual text content cannot be altered, so you can't have the event page titled Designer Pro Part 1 on desktop and change it to Designer Pro Part 2 on mobile. You can also not change the order of elements or blocks, the font used in text elements, and lastly, the color of anything on page. Those are going to be linked. Let's jump back into the tool to go over some examples. Here we are in your event page. You've made all the necessary edits to how it looks on desktop, and we are clicked into the mobile workspace. I'll first click into the block itself and increase the padding on the top and bottom. Next, I'll click into the headline and open up the font tab. I'll left align the text and increase the text size. I'll do the same for the date element and the location element. Then, after clicking into the button element, I'll make the width 100% and click into the border and set the radius to 0%. Last step, let's click back into the block level by clicking into the title of the block and change that background image out to be something more mobile friendly. A little tip here, if you can get away with using something that's more abstract or at least something more vertical in orientation, you're golden. Now, you can see we've made a number of structural and stylistic changes to this block. If we click back over to desktop, you'll find that none of these changes have affected desktop. That tells me as a designer, amazing, I can now curate the experience for my attendee from device to device instead of having to design it on desktop, cross my fingers, and hope for the best. You'll also notice, as we scroll down the page here in the mobile workspace, that a lot of the enhancements to the blocks have already been instituted. Our speakers that are 4 per line on desktop now neatly stack on top of each other on mobile. Our location block, where we have the map on the right and the location information on the left, also stack. So again, All of Splash's themes will look great on mobile, but do know that you have the creative control over all changes if you need to make any. To recap, your user flow will be as follows. Style your page out exactly the way that you want on desktop, then click over to the mobile workspace to make sure everything still looks good. Then, once that is handled, do not forget about tablet. Sure, the majority of your attendees will not be registering to your event on their iPads and tablets, but larger mobile devices nowadays tend to take the proportions of a tablet in web design more often than a regular mobile workspace. So make sure you check out tablet as your last step to achieve universal responsive assertion. One last bonus tip for the advanced designers out there before we close this chapter out. There may be times that you actually don't want to show a certain element or block on mobile, but you do want to show it on desktop. No problem. When you elect to hide something while in the mobile or tablet workspace, it will only be hidden in that view. Let's take a look at this speaker block, for example. We want to show it on desktop and tablet, but we want to hide it on mobile. Once you hide it on mobile, click back over to desktop to see that the block is still shown in the desktop view and the tablet view as well. Pretty awesome. Keep in mind, with great power comes great responsibility, so use this feature sparingly. That's it for multi-device curation.